What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we are taking a look at a glimpse at the meta. So this should be week number 5 of BT21, and we still have the big top 3. We know the big 3 of the format, and it's going to stay this way. So taking a look at all the local data we pulled together. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So as you guys know, I kind of do Digimon card winning deck meta tier list maker. Apparently this thing has 50 makers, but that's fine. You know, I do have a link down on tier list, so if you type this in, you should be able to make your own and use this for your own data use. And it gets updated from time to time as well with if there's something new that comes in. So just figured to let you guys know that is a resource for you guys to use. But taking a look, we do have Omnimon, aka the Royal Knights deck, taking 10 wins plus. Then you have, you know, Zakuyamon 10 wins plus, and then you have Valkyriemon taking 10 wins plus. So definitely the big 3. The closest second though was Gallantmon and the blue armor deck. They're starting to creep up now, starting to catch up. They're starting to realize how to handle the meta and adapt and bob and weave. So that kind of just shows us that these are still very powerful decks. A lot of people thought Gallantmon X kind of started falling off a little bit, especially weeks past. It was kind of lower into the, you know, only getting 4 to 7 win, like 4 to 3 wins in some weeks. And that just could be just new shiny toy syndrome, and then people just realize we're just going back on it. You know, you have a Rushermon superior mode, you know, being Hunter's deck popping up as well. Galacticmon and Red Purple Imperialdramon definitely doing a lot of scenes at the local meta. Then you do have Levia, Maston, Duskmon. You have Ancient Garu still doing some shenanigans. Adventures being able to top in local scenes. We even had Cinderella puppet controls pop up, so it's kind of interesting to see there. But then in the 1 categories, we did get the Megidra lower end with Phoenixmon on the top. We got a Lusa build, we got Dora Brick, we ended up with a Gaiomon, we got Deep Savers, Millenniummon, you know, even Balphamon making an appearance, Pyramidi, Valkyries, you know, all in all, great across the board on the low end. This dog should just disappear. I'm still surprised this thing still makes representation. But let's take a look at it. We're going to talk about Zafiga because a lot of players still want to play Zafiga. There's no reason not to be playing the deck, right? The deck has a lot going for it, and it's up to the players how they want to design their list and how to build it. I mean, yeah, I think Medieval Gallant is a requirement. You have Zafiga Ace, which I feel like is a requirement, but it's like hit or miss if they decide to go with the protection of the starter deck versus the aggression from the, you know, big boy deck, which was BT8's ability to apply pressure. So something like that. This card is starting to see play, which is no surprise. Vortex Resonance, I still think was the better option. Just did a little bit more than the other Liberator card, the white one, and at least can be searched in your color pool, which is a big thing. Like, I'm all about being able to use agility training, get to the Vortex Resonance, where a white card would not make it to my hand if, you know, agility training was flipped. You know, Shotos are very powerful. It's just the combination. The deck has a lot going for it in the right way. Now, heroes, this deck is what you kind of normally see grace your appearance. This isn't the Gaia build that you kind of see, but this is just the normal kind of hero deck that has been floating around for a while, you know, using Siriusmon as the top end, and they also use Wargreymon Ace because it is a hero, giving that protection skill that you can kind of get that 1 extra turn, and then, you know, Omnimon X just being able to apply the finishing blow. So yeah, heroes can do something, and again, the Takuya is always in there for the hybrid shenanigans with Uguni. Now, Mirage Galgamon definitely has fallen out. Hey, look, they're playing BT13 with the evade. You know, that's something really good. Eventually, it'll probably get the inheritable line that says when this Digimon would leave, it doesn't leave. You know, that shenanigans, but for now, we're not going to be dealing with that. So yeah, you have Invisimon as well in the list because Invisimon is pretty nuts. Just being able to de-digivolve set up a body hiding in your life that'll come out later, and then you be able to go right back into your megas that could lead into some destructive damage is always a good strategy. Millennium. Okay, I wasn't expecting people to go with the Growlmon engine as the bottom end. Don't make me dust off Millennium to do this. Don't make me do this. I want to test this. I really want to test this. I'll probably test this. It's very commonplace to see decks like this, especially when there's a very powerful engine on the bottom end now that just doesn't care about what the mid is. It's looking like we're gonna be some sort of hit to the Growlmon engine. This is what pushes that ideology, because again, if you're in a self-deleting self stack that just wants to die anyway, being able to extend your plays with like a Chimeramon and then go into the Millenniumon, especially because this deck can dig like crazy. Yeah, this is just what happens. I hate the concept, don't get me wrong. I think we're gonna see some sort of hit to the Growlmon line. Dark Masters. This is just big body booty slam down Mega Zoo. So because the abilities of their level 5s are able to search out any of their any mega of the color choice of their choosing, just a level 6 in general. Yeah, did it look at add up to 2 level 6 among them? So being able to have this many level 6s is really powerful, and it leads into some wonkiness. It's just basically playing Mega Zoo with Dark Masters. It definitely needs another couple waves of support, but that's just me. Now, Newman, we've seen this deck disappear off the face of the earth, but it seems like people want to bring this back and try it again, but it should stay gone. Just kidding. I actually like the Newman deck. It was actually quite fun to play, but being able to have Newman X at 1 just really hurt the deck a lot. Same with Louis plus the Uku. That all led into why the deck disappeared off the face of the earth, and also New Shining Toys syndrome definitely fixed a lot of that issue. But with, you know, Chaos Volderarm plus the Valkyriemon aces and Darkdramon and Shadow Seraphe ace, the deck has a lot to stand on. Now, Crossart is like hit or miss on what they kind of do, but this seems to be a lower to the ground Crossart. So yeah, I mean, this is an option for you guys that want Shoutmon DX. You know, EX6 is still a powerhouse in itself, right? And being able to come in with Shooting Starmon just to apply pressure with, you know, Meteor Rock Souls, and you know, the Taikis are just really good across the board. Now, Dora Brick is something you don't really see very often, so I figured I'd bring it up. You know, you do have security +1, a security attack +1. This one basically says this Digimon doesn't activate its security effects of options when it's checked. Security attack 1, security attack 1. This one gives 4,000 DP, security attack 1. This thing unsuspends if their board is, you know, free. This gives jamming. This gives, you know, security attack 1, security attack 1. So again, Dora Brick, if it can set up and spam out Gravity Crush and have the ability of Tai Kamiya, this deck just OTKs like it's nobody's business. And, you know, being able to have the Gila X under there just to pass the turn back is really good. You can get up to magic numbers. You just play a lot of filtering cards until you get to the Dora Brick and just kill them for game. That's just kind of how it goes. Pyramidi. Pyramidi does things from time to time at the local scene, and it's good to see that they are doing some more crazy shenanigans. They aren't playing the original BT3 Gogamamon. I can't speak, but it's kind of interesting to see where they go with their rock builds, right? They're also using Island Adventure, which all your level 3 or higher gets plus 2,000 DP. I think that's pretty good, being able to make these a little more beefier, especially because if your opponent can start answering this thing, would be deleted by trashing 3 of its Digivolution, it isn't deleted. You know, the only deck that this deck really fears is the Hunter's deck, because Arrested on Superior Mode just tucks Pyramidi under close, and then you just don't have access to it. Now, Puppet Control is just Newman. Wow, okay, Newman made a second top. Okay. I wasn't expecting Puppet Control to just be Newman adjacent, but Munze, you know, Shin Munze plus Puppetmon, at least it being something interesting. I wasn't expecting this deck to come back, and then you just got a bunch of shoes. Yeah, Puppet Control. Maston doing some shenanigans as always. This is always something at the local level, but I think they're starting to adapt into like using Digimon, being able to spam out with Maston to kind of just get bodies on the board, and then getting into Odenimon is always scary, just because, you know, end of your turn you may DNA Digivolve into one of your other Digimon in play, a Digimon in your hand by paying its DNA cost. All great stuff across the board, and I mean, the deck has a lot going for it, but at the same time, it feels like it's missing things, and that's just how this deck is always going to feel. Valkyriemon, nobody really had Valkyrie on their list, but I figured Valkyrie topped at a local level. Figured we should talk about Valkyriemon. The new Valkyriemon has Blitz, and when Digivolving, when attacking, return one of your opponent's Digimon 8,000 DP or less to the bottom of the deck. If an effect didn't return, this Digimon gains security act 1. So basically, it compensates for what Valkyrie Ace is trying to do. Yeah, Valkyrie Ace won't minus the board enough, but at least with this Valkyrie, you're not going to, if it dies in security check, it's not going to pass turn, because God forbid the Valkyriemon does that and you lose. You deal damage, and then it flips something and it dies, and then it passes your turn. It's really a bad day when that happens. Now, we're going to take a look. We got Phoenixmon doing Phoenixmon shenanigans. This deck is going to be a nuisance because, again, this bottom end is just that good, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see something kind of go from it. I'm not saying I want to, but there's no way you keep this deck around. And then here's like the Lucimon list that popped up on the radar here. It's kind of interesting. They do play Levia, but they're self-milling enough, controlling the board enough. You know, this is interesting here. If you have 4 or fewer cards in hand, by paying 6 costs, return this card to the bottom of your deck. Delete one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. Trash 1 card in your hand. Delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lowers. So being able to deal some damage, ultimate sacrifice, you know, revile from darkness, all great stuff to see. And then with the Gallantmons being able to come in when you have you know, your opponent has something big is always scary, right? And you also do have the Lucimons in your list so that you can, if this is out, you have a right number in trash, you can slam this down and make your opponent have a bad day. So all in all, great list. I think a lot of players are going to find that you can build almost anything, and as long as you have the right kind of game plan, you can definitely do something. So yeah, definitely take this into account, and hopefully you find this information useful. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.